This is Pamela Kuhn, and the curtain is up on Center Stage. The show about the arts and the artists behind their work. Well, as I like to say, may the force be with you. Yesterday was Star Wars Day, and I can't let this go by without a salute to our favorite movie. I have done several weeks of radio shows devoted to the drama and the traumas of COVID-19. And all I can say right now is I want to have a little fun. And what better to do it with than with Star Wars and the joy it gives us. So I have two guests today, which I'm very excited about. We're all on Zoom, as a matter of fact. So if you hear my dog barking, in Tatooine here in my background, that's She-Ra from Zorg, my Yorkshire Terrier, okay? Just to warn you, we are all broadcasting from our homes. So for everyone listening, if I'm talking about a visual, forgive me. On the radio, I'll try and explain as I go along. But I've got everybody at their home, and one of them is in a Death Star, kind of said, I love it. But first, let me introduce from Flensburg, Germany, baritone Marian Mueller. This is an opera singer who I interviewed last year in Germany, and it was great. At the end of the interview, we start talking about Star Wars, and lo and behold, he is so ridiculously conversant on it. It was like he lived his life for Star Wars, which made me so happy. And we talked for like another half hour about it, which I loved, Marian. And then my good old buddy, Matt Mickelson, my partner in crime and all things Star Wars and film. And he is with me. He is the filmmaker and actor, director of the Han Solo Chronicles, which you can all find on YouTube, which is very exciting. And this is something he's done with his family, and it's been a labor of love. So Marian Mueller and Matt Mickelson, welcome to Center Stage. And
hello there.
I should just be saying, may the 4th be with us, because Star Wars Day yesterday, it was fantastic. And so we're a day late, but it doesn't matter. We still got the enthusiasm. So today I thought maybe we could all just talk about the legacy that Star Wars has left for us, because I know all three of us are such devout fans. And the thing I really want to talk about today is that enduring quality of the movies and what really brought you to these, okay? Maybe we can speak to Marian, who's furthest away, which means you get to go first today. Marian Mueller with your plush Yoda there for all my readers.
Right. Yeah, that's my plush Yoda.
I love it. And where did you get plush Yoda?
He was actually a birthday gift from my dear friend Chris, who's also a singer and also a Star Wars lover. And we're here together in Flensburg. And I think for my birthday 2 years ago, he got me the little plush Yoda. And ever since, he's been with me in my living room. He's just chilling out, and he's just reminding me to keep calm, relaxed, and not have too much fear and hate and whatever, because that leads to the dark side.
That's right, and we don't want to go there, not with the coronavirus or on any normal day. So Marian, what was it that really brought you to Star Wars? You're a young man. You must have been quite young when you saw the first film.
So the first time I saw anything Star Wars related was when I was very young. Must have been like 5 or 6, and we were visiting my uncle, who also lives in Germany, and he had these little Star Wars plastic toys, little like characters from the films, and like ATSTs and everything. And I was just playing with them, and I didn't know anything about the story, the movies, or anything. I was just playing, and then I got interested, of course, because I love the toys so much. And then I don't remember how old I was exactly when I saw the first movie, but I think I was pretty young. And then we had it on. I think my dad recorded it from the TV back on VHS tape. And I just remember I watched them over and over. The episode 4 to 6. I think episode 6, I've seen it at least 30 times or something. It's crazy. So, but
fantastic.
most of those times I saw it in German. So
That was my next question, obviously. I mean, that must have been a total trip. I can't imagine this translated into any other language. I mean, does it translate well into German? And then I've got to ask, the guys doing the voiceovers in other languages, I mean, do they meet the quality of voices that we have in the original actors?
Well, no, not really. I mean, of course, when I grew up, I only knew the German version, so for me that was normal. But then later on, when I learned a little bit English and I watched the movies in its original, voice voice acting, I realized that the English version is much better, of course, especially the first 3 episodes, because we're all struggling a little bit with Hayden Christensen's acting sometimes, or at least. But you have to see the German version because it's much worse. Like the German voice actor for Hayden Christensen is really not good. So it becomes worse. So when I saw the English version, I was like, it's actually fine. It's not bad. The acting. So
that's an interesting perspective on this. Matt, we've never talked about that, the other countries that have actually put the Star Wars films out. And of course, you're a voiceover artist yourself, so you appreciate this. But,
I mean, could you imagine Hayden Christensen as David Hasselhoff and Germany, like Harry Jest? And
I
I don't know if David Hasselhoff actually speaks German, but I know he's big there.
He is, actually, the whole Baywatch thing. Yeah. And Knight Rider, of course. But Matt, so tell me, I know you can become very eloquent about this, but what is the legacy, especially the original Star Wars film made in 1977, the original Star Wars, what is the legacy that leaves behind for all of us and actually paves the way forward for all of us as fans, and especially young people today?
Well, I mean, first off, having a proper experience with it, especially with the young people, and only being able to see it on their TVs while they're looking at their phone and talking to friends and texting and doing all this other stuff, I think you miss a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And as opposed to being in a theater and just having 100% of your attention on that screen, I still think you're missing something. And I mean, for instance, I have some friends of mine that are a Japanese couple, and they'd never heard of it ever before, and they're going to watch it this week. And I told them to start with, the first one from 1977, which is number 4, which is confusing, because they were looking for the first Star Wars movie, number 1, which was The Phantom Menace, and no, don't start with that.
Don't start with that.
Yeah. You have to start with the original because, remember, it was just a under-budget, silly kids movie until, George's, passion for his project, really came through to all of us, and everything came together just the right way to make the magic that it is still today. It's not just a movie, it's a movement.
Would you agree with that, Marian? I mean, the whole Star Wars legacy is really a movement, almost a religion in a way.
That's what I was about to say. It's almost a religion. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, because it's that important to people. If you start messing with it, then you're going to upset a lot of folks.
So the thing in 1977, when I was a lot younger, and I went to the first film every day for 2 weeks. That was very common when it was a phenomenon. It was the most unbelievable phenomenon. And people today don't appreciate that because we don't have that kind of thing anymore about films, really, except for maybe Lord of the Rings. But to have people standing when I was in Los Angeles and saw it, where the wonderful Westwood Theater had been rigged for this fantastic new thing called Dolby Sound. It was a sensory experience. It was the ship coming in and literally feeling, your seat shake in the theater, and having such stereo sound surrounding you. It was fantastic. But also it was that amazing combination of music mastery, and film, and the editing, and of course the sense of fun. that we were being introduced to. We'd gone through such a long period in that time in the 70s of Vietnam, and it was a sad moment in the world. And suddenly we were lifted out. People couldn't get enough of it. But it's the same today. So this legacy is truly lasting on a kind of mythological level, isn't it? Marian?
Yeah. Well, it's just a story that's so. I mean, I just watched all the movies again, almost all of them, and I thought about it. What's so fascinating about it? And it's really the story, the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker. It's just so. Every time I see it, every time I see Episode 3, and then Episode 4, how he turns into Darth Vader, and then Episode 6, how he saves Luke, and he takes the mask off. It's just so sad. It's so like, it's also like, of course it's a good ending, Episode 6, but it's every time it gets me, and it's just touched me so deep inside on such a deep emotional level. It's great, and it's always done that, and that's why I love the films. And some of the dialogue may be weak, some of the alien stuff in the first 3 movies or Episode 6, the Ewoks, may be a bit silly or whatever, but I don't care, because it's such a great story that gets you every time. And especially just the Anakin Skywalker story, how he's such a good young boy, and he just tries to be good or he is good all the time. And then he grows up and he has all these fears about his mother dying, and then his wife dying, and then he gets lured to by this dark lord of the Sith. It's just crazy. It's crazy. So I just love it, and I just watch it over and over, and it is a little bit of a religion for me. And of course, it has all these great elements. Yoda, the great Jedi Master, who just talks about, how you should, I mean, all of these things that Yoda says, like, try it, do it, or just don't. I don't remember the exact quote, but it's amazing. It's great. I love it.
Do or do not, there is no try.
Yes, do or do not, there is no try. Exactly.
As an opera singer, these are things that you actually take to the stage, I mean, this is basic psychology we're talking about. We can be lured to the dark side in anything through fear. Matt, in your Han Solo Chronicles, how many of the aspects of the original Star Wars have you taken with you, into the storyline and what you've tried to achieve with your own filmmaking?
Well, I mean, it just started out as a little mom and pop project, but the sentiments that the characters, we're revisiting Han Solo 13 years after Return of the Jedi, and we're still dealing with that same character's sensibilities and how you think he might raise a couple of girls, and how how much his girls are like their mother, and how much that might drive him a little nuts, but also how he is trying to, I mean, it's, you just bring yourself to the character too, because if I imagine that this is how they would approach Han Solo 13 years later, because he's just a guy. He's not a space wizard, he's not an emperor, he's not a senator or anyone special. He's just a dude, trying to get along, and now he's the same guy with a couple of kids, and he, like most tough guys, he plays tough, but after the door closes behind him, he's a decent person or a pussycat. And all the toughness is just showing off for the rest of the folks, so no one takes advantage of you, especially in the world that character lives in, where it's kind of, every man for himself, so to speak. And also trying to bring up 2 daughters in that world where people are coming up after you all the time. So I just kind of took those sensibilities and wanting the kids to be their own people, but at the same time trying to keep them safe. And Absolutely. That just made sense to me.
Now, I have seen the interior of your study at your home, And I know it is completely papered with posters, with all Star Wars toys, all the memorabilia. I love it. Can you share some of the stuff you collected for us? That maybe one of these days you're going to sell on eBay, so we might have a chance at it.
Yeah. You know, I have like a edit system sound studio set up. So, you know, my main bay of computer keyboard screens and whatnot, you know, for editing. And then I have that hooked up to PA speakers, which are these giant rock show speakers. And, you know, so if I'm editing a movie, I could turn those on and hear what it's going to sound like in a large space, you know, or if I'm cutting a video that's going to be shown at a concert or an event, I can, you know, have a really good idea of how that's going to sound on giant speakers when that is shown to an audience. And also, you know, I have all my memorabilia. I've got the big Millennium Falcon with I had a Bespin background, and I had some big posters printed from those backgrounds, and I put some, you know, lights and stuff behind them so it looks like a little diorama. You know, just the different characters and whatnot, kind of plastered all over the place. Drawings from my kids of the same thing, and patches from the 501st guys, you know, that I've worked with, and you know, your standard fare, I guess, you know. You know, my little creative cave, my man cave, but I actually work here, you know.
You've got it made. You really got it made. You know, Marian, you and I being musicians, and of course, Matt Mickelson is also a musician. He's a stunning guitarist and a singer. But Marian, you and I know about the power of myth probably more than anyone else being opera singers. We deal with this kind of storytelling through music all the time on stage. And you and I are well versed, and you probably more than I, ironically, in the Wagnerian leitmotifs that are used in themes. And of course, John Williams, being the master he is, decided to go with that in all the Star Wars films where we've used his scores. And we know how important that is. So we hear a theme and we associate it immediately, you know, with the character. But there's a bond that comes through that, isn't there, Marian?
Right. I mean, think about right. You have pictures in your head.
What a bonus for our listeners to hear Marian Mueller sing. I love it. I love it.
It's great. Yeah.
I remember in 1977 when they would write about the leitmotifs as if it was such a big deal. And so for we in opera, we really get this, you know, the introduction is coming, and all the themes were so strong, and they become a little subtler over time, you know, with like The Force Awakens, and then becoming quite strong again in Last Jedi. Are you one of those people that knows all the musical cues before a scene sets up or before a character walks in?
You mean in opera or with Star Wars?
With Star Wars.
With Star Wars, I don't think. No, I don't have all of them written down. But yeah, I do. I do notice when a leitmotif is happening. Like I hear something in the music, or when I saw the new trilogy. Of course, I'm listening closely to what's happening in the music. I'm like, oh, he's doing this. Oh, this is clever. This comes from here, and he's doing this. And of course, yeah, it's a big. But I'm not a crazy freak who just knows knows all right away what's happening or whatever. But yeah, I notice it.
Something tells me you probably do more than you give yourself credit for. Okay, I got to ask you guys this perfectly silly question, because when it comes around to the Ewoks, I've always got this theory that George Lucas actually patterned all the Ewoks after his own look. You know, kind of furry, kind of cuddly, you know? Yeah. Am I on the right track here, or am I way off?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Well, I'm not the first person to have said that.
It makes sense. I think it makes sense, yeah.
Me, hairy little man.
And, you know, I remember the critics were so hard on him for the Ewoks because, you know, like Yoda, nobody saw this coming, these little, you know, furry creatures. And I remember in the original reviews of Empire Strikes Back when they were like, oh my God, it's a freaking, Muppet, literally Yoda, but it just works. It just works, The gravitas in the character was so profound. But the Ewoks are something else, but they really did work, didn't they?
I think they worked. I also think the Gungans worked, but that's probably just me. I mean, Jar Jar might be a little bit, but
Yeah.
it works for me. It works for me. It's all part of his world, and for me, it works.
And somehow perfect in the setting of the Redwoods, in Northern California where they filmed. Matt, what do you think about that? Am I on the right road? Are they George Lucas in miniature?
I've never heard that before, but why not?
Yeah, let's just go with it. Let's just go with it, guys. I like it too.
Or it could have been, Robin Williams or something like that. He was a hairy dude.
Oh my gosh, no. So, I've got to put it out here now because all of us have gone through this journey together in our love for the films. I loved The Force Awakens. I was one of those people that when The Force Awakens was about to open, we were on, is it going to be good? Is it going to have the same pizzazz? Is it going to have the same love and drive that the original Star Wars? Okay. And Marian, you're giving me a funny kind of look. You weren't so excited about The Force Awakens, really? Introducing the character of Rey?
I think The Force Awakens was fine.
Mm-hmm.
The real disaster was, of course, The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And then the latest one wasn't much better, but a little bit better than The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi was really, to me, it was unacceptable. Like, it ruined everything for me. But The Force Awakens, I think, was a decent movie. It was a nice movie. You went to the cinema and you went on, you were like, okay, well, this is fine. This is well done. It gives you this Star Wars feel. And it's a good setup for the trilogy, and I was excited to see what happens. I was like, of course, everyone always waited for Luke's entrance, and then he just came in so late at the very end. But it was fine. I thought, okay, it's interesting. Let's see what happens. But I didn't think that it was like a masterpiece or anything, because I just remember sitting in the cinema and I was like, this is all copied. It's just episode 4 all over again.
Mm-hmm.
There's no new idea. But then, of course, we didn't know where it would go with the trilogy. So I was still like, okay, maybe this is going to be great, turn out great in the next 2 films, which it totally didn't. It got like 10 times worse. But I liked it. I was like, it's great. But looking back, now that we know the entire trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
To me, like, it's just crazy how they could make a new Star Wars trilogy and not plan it out, which they obviously haven't done. Like, when they started filming episode 7, they had no idea where the trilogy would go, or maybe like a little bit, but they had no plan. How can you do that? How can you take something which we just said, how important it is to so many people? It's like a religion. It's so important, such an important piece of our modern pop culture. How can you just take it and just not take it serious and just say, okay, well, let's see, let's make a movie and let's see where this goes. Let's bring in some other director, just let him do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, it went wrong. I'm still upset to this day every time I think of it.
Do you think it was like the egos in the room saying, well, don't you know who we are? We'll come up with something. It'll be fine. What?
Yeah, totally. I mean, J.J. Abrams, I think, has a huge ego, and he was just like, well, I'm going to do it different than everyone expects. I'm just going to do my thing, and I'm a great filmmaker. But I mean, what's his name? Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson.
I mean, he said in a lot of interviews how he just wanted to basically destroy everything. He admitted, he was like, I'm just going to do everything different just because I can, just because I want to do everything different. And like, why? Like,
and the thing that kills me about that is like, wait, you want to do everything different with Star Wars is something that people, devote their lives to, almost like a religion in a way. All those cosplayers, all those people who are very devout to it. And if you're going to monkey with something like that, do it with Smokey and the Bandit or the Cannonball Run or, the stuff that people just do for fun, or maybe a new Twilight episode. Change that up. Nobody will care if it's terrible. But with this, if it's terrible, you're going to hear about it, And it's not that, people didn't like it because it had like SJW messages in it or whatever. No, it was just bad across the board. Bad plot, bad acting, bad this, bad that. It was just bad. And like you, I was in the theater going, am I in the right theater? You know, they know we're here to see a Star Wars movie, right? You know, running out of gas, that's your plot? What?
Flying Leia?
In a slow chase down a dirt road, and then we got to go to the Vegas and get the thing and come back and do nothing and then get off the ship anyway. Yes, some parts were great, but this isn't a student film. This is Star Wars. It all has to be a good story.
I think,
and it's not just the audience.
$1 million, and you can't make a good story.
Yeah. And why take something and want to destroy it suddenly? I would get it if they had a group decision to go together and take it a different direction, you know, and mildly do that. But to do something so ridiculous, and my other beef about Rian Johnson, and I get it, you know, he's a great filmmaker, yada, yada, maybe. I went to Looper and I was sitting there thinking, you know, that he made, and thinking, you know, this just doesn't knit up. It almost works and it doesn't. And I felt it in The Last Jedi, we had a bit of that. It almost works and it doesn't. And then he decides to add on one big battle scene at the end. It was almost like two films in one, because I didn't get the vibe of the film until the very end, until that wonderful, wonderful battle on the salt flats. I thought that was really, really beautifully conceived, really interesting. It finally brought in Luke. You know, thank God it finally brought in Luke to the hero he is. But you know, why do we have to dismantle? You know, right from the beginning, of The Last Jedi, when Rey hands him the lightsaber and he throws it over his arm, I thought, okay, what are we in a British comedy here from the 50s?
Exactly.
No, it's weird. It's just weird. And they left it okay at the end of The Force Awakens, you know? I mean, Matt, don't you think it could have been salvaged by J.J. Abrams again? You know?
Yeah. I mean, well, you know, with Force Awakens, you know, that was a perfectly fine film, but like you said, it was a bit of a copy. And it was, you know, an obvious ploy of, here's Han Solo, who we know and love. Here's the new kids. He's going to introduce him. Then we're going to murder Han Solo. You know, they could at least waited till the next episode so they had something to do, you know, like in the next episode, Han Solo is killed. So now we got to go get those guys. That would have made a lot more sense. But that let me down about that. But it was nice to see all the places and your familiar actors. And I feel bad they didn't take the opportunity to get the 3 original cast together again, just for a minute, you know, just to see them say hi or something, you know, to give us a little bit more of a backstory, what that happened over the past 35 years. But, you know, I could complain all day about this, you know, but the fact of the matter is, on a day like May 4th, which is synonymous with how they used to release these movies in the 80s, the original trilogy still holds a real magic for people that just gives them that sense of hope and awe and fascination that they can't get anywhere else. And that's why we're here today. You know, I mean, we could complain about how other people have muddied the waters a lot, and then have been playing with our thing that we love so much and screwing it up. But the fact that we have it to complain about, you know, is you know, where we like to find the magic. Unfortunately, there are some powers that be that have all the tools and money at their disposal, and they're playing with this thing like it's it's not Star Wars. They're playing with it like it's something else. Like
it's a weaker kind of trilogy, or
this isn't an episode of Dallas, you know, where everyone's going to forget about it in a week, you know. So who shot JR? I don't care.
And along with that, can I ask you guys what you thought? This is something I think about a lot, because at first it didn't sit well with me, but it was the casting of Adam Driver as Kylo Ren always surprised me a little bit. And I think partly in the beginning, I'm just speaking honestly now, I was like, why him? And it's grown on me only because I watch these movies numerous times and I see new things, and he is a fantastic actor. There's no question about it. I don't know if it's him or maybe the way they portrayed Kylo to be really such a child, with temper tantrums, that understood kid. I don't know which part is angering me more, but it never set well with me. I don't think he was strong enough really for us to believe in any way, whether it was good or bad. Marian, have you got any feelings about that?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great actor. I just watched Marriage Story on Netflix, and he's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
His acting is amazing, but for some reason in Star Wars, he comes off as a bad actor. You watch him, you're like, what is this? It doesn't. But I think it's what you said, how they, some of the dialogue or whatever stuff they made him do just made him look like a child, angry, weird child. It's just not working for me as well. And I really didn't like him.
But
yeah.
And you see, then we had two children. So if Luke is acting out, in The Last Jedi and not coming along with business and denying who he is again in a kind of petulant way, which is really sad. And I know Mark Hamill was not happy about that, and rightfully so. But then we've got Kylo Ren too. We've got two children on set and this great strong woman named Rey who can kick everybody's butt. Thank God we got that going for us. And that's good.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was to necessarily devalue our original characters that everyone loves so much, to make it easier for everyone to accept the new ones that we're not vested in, because, frankly, they could have been presented better. I mean, I Force Awakens set that up okay. But once again, Last Jedi really just messed up a lot of stuff. And unfortunately, the movie after that suffered, no matter who directed that, because they had a lot of holes to plug. And, they weren't trying to save a sinking ship. It sank, and they were having to back up with the balloon things, So I got to give JJ credit there, and the myriad of people who helped him unscrew that situation, but a lot of those same people help screw up that situation. So it's really hard where to put blame in your loyalties, but once again, they're messing with powers they have no understanding of, apparently. They're still looking at the money.
Can you imagine the sleepless nights that J.J. Abrams had when he had to come back?
I could imagine.
Skywalker.
I could imagine.
I mean, really trying to pull it all together, have it make sense, have it make editorial sense, not overlong, which it ended up being. And then the loss of a couple of people, that we'd come to know, like Rose, for instance, was kind of dumped in the last film, which is too bad. But let me ask you guys this. What is the future going ahead? Let me just ask it like this. Are you looking forward to the next trilogies that will be coming out? And I've heard Rian Johnson is toying with that. And of course, the Game of Thrones team. Marian, do you have any feelings about how you would like to see Star Wars carry on in the future?
Well, I think they're going to tell a new story. So the Skywalker saga is officially over now. So it's going to be a new story, and there's probably so if they have a new story, they don't have all this old stuff that they have to think about. So I will see it, of course. I will go because I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, and I've just watched The Mandalorian. Mandalorian is great. I love it. I'm like, how can this series be so great, and these 3 movies with a big budget can be so bad? I just don't get it. But
because I'm still making it that like it.
Yeah.
I think there's a theme here too in The Mandalorian that we need to really look at, and that is, again, it's a hero's journey. I remember the interview with George Lucas and the great mythologist Joseph Campbell, who wrote The Hero's Journey, and how they bantered between the two of them about what really happens in the journey of a young person or someone who is about to become transformed. And in The Mandalorian, certainly we are seeing that theme played out to the hilt. And then we see the camaraderie and the almost Seven Samurai type of devotion from all the other Mandalorians. I mean, and it's so exciting. It's so exciting to see some new ground. And for me, it's exciting to see Disney get really serious and take the old Star Wars kind of idea, and put it to the test here. You think I'm right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I want to ask a question here to you guys, if that's okay. So Baby Yoda, what do you guys think? Where does he come from? What is he gonna be? I'm just thinking about it all the time. I'm like, where's this gonna go? I mean,
Matt Mickelson, you can answer that one, can't you?
I just never heard anyone talk about it that way. So what's happening with Baby Yoda? I gotta know. I don't. It's a little gamble that worked, I guess. I mean, Steven Spielberg's things he always put in his stories that added tension, which is his go-to, is always putting children in danger. Close Encounters, Jaws, Empire of the Sun,
E.T.
Yeah. Kids are always in trouble. Kids are always in danger. And I think Baby Yoda might be that stand-in as far as a young somebody. Plus, he's a tool for the Mandalorian to change. The Mandalorian was just this soulless, moralless killing machine. And now he's got this purpose. He's got a purpose all of a sudden. He's just a killer, but now he actually cares about a thing. And he knows these people that he's been working for are bad. And now he's got to protect the thing, so now we got a show, right? Simple. So, and I love that they went back to regular animatronics and a little bit of CGI here and there, but not too much. Because,
this is a really good point.
For like a puppet? Really?
Right.
Oh, it worked though. I forgot he was a puppet after like 2 seconds,
Right. This is a really good point, because I think we're all fed up with the whole Marvel, entourage of CGI. I mean, give me a break. I want character. And so you're talking about something that's so important here. This is something in opera as well, Marian. We saw in Anthony Minghella, the filmmaker, he directed Madame Butterfly. And they used, Matt Mickelson, in case you didn't know this, they actually used a puppet for the part of a boy who doesn't have any speaking or singing lines. And it was so unbelievably powerful on stage. A puppet.
Yeah.
So instead, again, getting away from special effects and back to real kind of, and for me, The Mandalorian is more about John Wayne, coming into the West with his 6 guns.
Yeah.
I love that, because we're getting back to this kind of space Western idea and the recipe always works. We want to root for the good guy. And especially if he's been kind of a baddie, but hey, he changed and there's hope for him, just like Han Solo. Mm-hmm. So, and the production values of The Mandalorian, I think you both will agree with me, are fantastic. This is not television. This is film quality. They have fantastic actors, and it looks like it's going to go an interesting way. And we've already lost a couple of characters we were being introduced to, we liked, and oh, wow, anything's going to happen here. I mean, it's not Game of Thrones yet.
The guys making it love it. It's, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni is his name. Right. And, these guys are Star Wars nuts. And, they're my age. And so you've got people making it as fans that have the backing of Disney and some money, and this is what you get, as opposed to people that you're hiring their ego and not necessarily any talent because you want a name on it, or Disney is just throwing a bunch of money at it because they want to see a bunch of money come back, as opposed to making it with a sense of passion. Because that's why the first one succeeded. It was a sense of passion. It wasn't supposed to be a big blockbuster that was going to make a lot of money. It was supposed to be this stupid little movie that came out for the summer, boom, gone, and right out the door with Herbie the Love Bug. Nobody cares about it the next day, But he was able to put his heart and soul into this thing, for $10 million, and he should have had 20. But it turned out to be this huge thing, and he really hit on something by bringing the John Williams music together with the great story, with it, you know, keeping a classic look. If you watch it, you know, he had all these British filmmakers that were his crew, and they were very, it's a wide shot, it's going to move like this, it's a, you know, it was very standard, nothing fancy. If you go back and watch the original Star Wars, it's a lot of static shots on a tripod, you know, but it's the story happening in front of that lockdown camera shot, not this camera running all over the place like MCU and jumping up and down and everything exploding. And, you know, were there people in that building? I don't know.
Because we don't care anymore. There's so much going on. Yeah, totally agree.
Doesn't that look cool? Yeah.
Marian, getting back to your question, and it's a good one. You know, there much is talked about this whole, what species is Yoda? Have we ever been introduced where Yoda comes from, who he is? And I think they're taking that idea and they're really running with it to max value. I mean, and he's so adorable. Baby Yoda, how can you resist this adorable child? And then, of course, when we get to see the acts of magic and great strength, and it's always based on what? Heroism again. You know, there's something to be this teaching here, this teaching young people too, and I think it's a marvelous thing. So, Marian, you know, when you find out who Baby Yoda is, I want you to let us know. You may learn sooner over there in Germany somehow.
Well, we learned that he's not a clone, right? That was one of the theories, that people thought he might be a clone. He's not, because that was cleared up in the last episode. So. Yeah, but it's interesting. I mean, George Lucas had this rule. I read this recently, that he would never talk about Yoda's race, you know, where he's from and what race he is and his background. But now that Disney has bought LucasArts, of course, now they can talk about it. They can make Baby Yoda and run with it. So it's going to be exciting to see. I mean, he's 50 years old, right? And Yoda was 900 years old.
Right.
So,
and this is a baby.
Yeah, the problem is he's not going to grow up before like 100 or 200 years pass, right? So I have this dream of seeing Baby Yoda fight, of course. You know, get like build a little lightsaber and then fight of the bad guy with the dark saber. What was that? That was the dark saber, right? From the Clone Wars. Yeah.
Correct.
The Grand Moff Gideon, I think.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah,
they got the bad guy from Breaking Bad. How bad is that?
Yeah.
Bad's in good, you know. Not bad as in bad, but bad as in good. Bad, good.
So we will see. But I'm really hyped for the second season of Mandalorian.
Too.
I have heard that they are actually filming series 2 and 3 right now, because they can see this is going to go far, and I'm sure they want to keep the actors close, you know, because these guys, you know, have other careers out there. Well, except for now in COVID-19, but
yeah.
We're all hoping for the best.
They're going to shoot it like this.
Exactly. You know, this has been like such a gas with you guys. I've loved every second of this. I mean, you know, we're sitting in our homes. We're still kind of bemoaning the fate of our own careers and where we're going from here. Marian, I love you with Yoda here, plush Yoda. I love this. I love it. And Matt Mickelson, you sitting there on the bridge of what? And one of the Admiral ships, would you say?
Yeah, that's a Star Destroyer, right? That's a Star Destroyer.
That's pretty hot. And for all my radio listeners out there, I wish you could see the visual, but you're going to have to tune in on our YouTube channel to hear and see this conversation. I'm just going to go by each one of you now for my last question. And really, it comes down to this. Marian Mueller, is there a favorite moment for you in taking from the Star Wars films that you hold most dear? Is there a favorite moment that you really identify with?
My favorite moment in all of Star Wars, let's see. Well, it has to be in episode 3, somewhere in the end. Like either when Vader is just, you know, when he gets his helmet on, or when Anakin tries to jump the high ground and then Obi-Wan cuts his legs down. It's very sad, but it's so emotional, it's so big, and it's so sad. It's just so sad. So that's always the moment that gets me the most, you know, when this whole transformation thing happens. And of course, I love The Empire Strikes Back. There's also a lot of great moments there. But yeah, I would say that's the ending of episode 3 is probably my favorite part.
That episode is moving at the end. That transformation is unbelievable. And again, I'm going to go back to the music, because the music, there is a Dies Irae playing in the background. And that is a great moment of truth. I mean, it's real wrath of God stuff, that transformation. It is very moving. And it's,
yeah, I mean, when Obi-Wan says, "You're my brother, Anakin. You were the chosen one. You were supposed to," it's so sad.
Agreed. Of course. Matt Mickelson, for you, what would that moment be in the Star Wars film? Or can you just name one? Because I know it's hard for both of you.
You know what? When I was growing up, we didn't have VHS tapes, and all we had was the albums. And so I sat there and drew Star Destroyers and listened to the albums, so I kind of knew them front to back. But the moment that always got me is I think it's Leia's theme that's rocking when they're trying to chase down Boba Fett's ship before it takes off. And there's such a build up to that, running down the hallways, and then they get to the landing platform and the ship takes off, and just the not vacant, but the helpless look on Carrie Fisher's face, as she realizes that the ship with her new boyfriend just left. And she may not be able to get him back.
I know.
That was always a big emotional cue for me.
Wow. For me, I think it's always going to be the same thing, and that's when Luke first meets Obi-Wan. And, Obi-Wan says, "You must come with me and learn to be a Jedi." And he's, no, I've got to get home. And they see the ship that's been destroyed with the Jawas, and they put it together. And he rides back to his home and finds everything destroyed. And when he comes back to Obi-Wan and makes that speech, "I'm coming with you. I'm going to become a Jedi like my father." And I remember back in the early days, that's when everyone would cheer in the theaters. And you guys are too young to remember that. And that really dates me. But I'll tell you what, that was a moment.
Yeah.
That's what we all live for in these movies. And I think we've summed it up today, guys. I got to really thank you. This has been so much fun. We got to do this again. I love this. Across the ocean in Germany with Marian Mueller.
Thanks for having me.
In outer space. Come on.
And in outer space. Great.
And Matt Mickelson, you're going to go on forever doing your Star Wars movies and your voiceovers and come back to center stage a whole lot. And you too, Marian, because you guys have got some great opinions. I love this. We should have just tea and Star Wars evenings, or martini and Star Wars.
Well, what would be kind of funny is that my friend, my neighbor, always has this algorithm of you can have any show be successful, just put it in space. Next time you do a pitch meeting or whatever, it's Dallas, but in space, which works. Great. It's Melrose Place, but in space. It's always this little add-on, and it just makes it much funnier. And you think about it, you're like, that would totally work.
It's true. It's true. We could do anything. Oh my God.
If there's any executives listening and you go to the pitch meeting with that, you owe me 5%.
Okay. As long as they don't put any reality shows in space. That would be sacrilegious.
Well, at least they would be able to eject people out into space if they got too annoying, I guess.
Well, I feel, we're starting to come out of coronavirus now, or with a little bit more confidence, we hope, for all of our mutual careers and our lives and our families. So I hope, though, there'll be much Star Wars viewing. And, I'm sure we felt the Force with us on Star Wars Day, and we're spreading that out to as many as we can with our show. And I really have to thank you guys for being on the show. It's been so great to take ourselves out of COVID-19 and just think about what's really fantastic in space. So Matt Mickelson, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. Marian Mueller, you are a prince among singers with your plush Yoda there. You guys are the best. And
Thanks for having me.
You bet, anytime. And this is Pamela Kuhn, and the curtain is now down on center stage.
Right. Yeah.
That was good.
That was good.
That was way fun.
I've never heard anyone, get excited about Baby Yoda before. People are excited about it. I've just never heard it verbally,
Oh my God, Matt, everybody's nuts about Baby Yoda. People are scrambling at Christmas trying to buy Baby Yoda.
Like, instead of being Cabbage Patch Kids, it is a Cabbage Patch Kid because, I don't know.
That was the point you brought up about Steven Spielberg, and children. Like always in peril or coming from a broken family, that sort of thing. And it's true because the Mandalorian is just on his own. He leads such a solitary existence, and here he has, he's going to go back for that baby. The baby gives him that one last little look and we're all like, oh God.
And they did it well without it being corny because it could have been really bad. You know what I mean? It's a very fine tipping point when you bring in stuff like that. It could go really okay or it could just be terrible, but they plus they made us care about a dude that you never see.
I know.
In a helmet.
But we can feel his presence and his somberness and the joy in him too. And it's just incredible. And I think we're going to meet a lot of fantastic characters, So and whenever
the opera version of Empire Strikes Back, I assume you'll be in it, Marian.
I hope so. Yeah. I certainly hope so.
I should have asked that question actually. Who would you be? Who would you want to be cast as?
Oh, I don't know. Probably Anakin Skywalker.
Really?
Yeah. In the second movie, and I would try to act better. I don't know.
I'm sure you can. So what is the word in Flensburg now about? Is the season done now for
the season is canceled. The season is canceled. We just have 2 more months of having to stay here.
Oh, you have to stay there just to fulfill your contract, so to speak.
Yeah. So we get money. Yeah.
Where do you live? Somewhere else in Germany or?
No. Flensburg is where I live, but we're not working, but we still have to stay here. We can't just go away and visit our friends or family somewhere else.
Gotcha.
It's called a Residenzpflicht. It means that you're working for the theater and you have to stay, and you can only go away if there's something important work related happening or something.
Well, plus if they open things up and you're in France and they can't get a hold of you somehow, then.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a good thing. Yeah, it makes sense. But so yeah, two more months of that, and then my contract's gonna end in August, and then I have my new contract in Hof in Bavaria, which is another small theater, pretty similar to Flensburg actually, and that's gonna start in September, and it's another fest contract for 2 years. So I'm very excited, but of course, nobody knows how things are gonna be in September. We hope that we will be able to continue. With rehearsals at least, but who knows? But my contract is running, so.
Well, that's good. It's better than zero,
Yeah.
And Matt, what about you about filmmaking and camera work and?
Well, I mean, everything's DOA for now. I picked up a little editing work, for the Silvermine, Arts Center in Connecticut, but that's about it. Hoping I get some unemployment or something like that. I guess Lee's still making a little bit of money with her consulting work, but my stuff is dead.
So Marian, Matt's wife, Lee, is an artist and a rather profound artist and sculptor. And she actually left one job before this happened and started to work as a consultant. She's done very well, which is great. That's one aspect of art, where you can work in a solitary fashion, that hasn't been so affected. The other is being like a podcast talk show host where you can actually do this online and we can get the job done.
Like those YouTube guys that have, 500,000 subscribers, they all work that they all do that at home. And that, I guess if you have 500,000 plus subscribers and Patreon and all that kind of stuff, I guess you're making enough income to not need another gig. So, their advice for saying on how to get that started is start back in 2009 and you should be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels so much better. We need 500,000 followers, guys.
Yeah.
But you guys are so darn cute. So Marian, what got you to shave your head? Did you decide just to go clean, during this whole time of not being able to get a haircut?
Well, my hair just looks so weird when it grows on the sides because I have this big round head, and my hair needs to be short on the sides, and I just couldn't wait for the barbershops to open again. So I just decided to. I always wanted to try it anyways, just to see how it looks.
You look good.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna let it grow out again, and then go to the barber.
Fight Club style.
Yeah. Fight Club. Yeah.
Space Monkey shot into space, sacrificing himself for the greater good.
What other films, Marian, do you like? What other films do you go to, gravitate towards?
Films?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see here. I do have to say I watch a lot of like cheap movies, or like I love everything with Leonardo DiCaprio in it.
Well, that's not necessarily a cheap movie. I don't look at The Aviator as being a cheap movie.
No, of course.
Or The Departed.
So, for example, The Departed is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I just had a discussion with a very good friend of mine, and she hated the movie. She was like, so bad, like the only woman that's in it is a whore, and like it's so one-dimensional and whatever.
Well, it is the remake of a Chinese film, a Hong Kong, I think.
Yeah.
And
I love The Departed. It's one of my favorite movies. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
you like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Oh yeah, I love that movie. Yeah, fantastic. And well, I would say Godfather, especially Godfather 2, is like one of my favorite movies of all time.
Did you see the in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith? Did you see all the little Godfather references in that?
No. Which ones?
Well,
I missed them totally.
Oh, well, okay. Hey, a lot of music was lifted from The Godfather for the part where what's her name dies, Padme, and the casket scene, the camera over the casket. That's from The Godfather. I'm not sure if it's from Godfather 1, 2, or 3, but I know it's from The Godfather.
Okay.
Wow. Like the whole funeral procession music is from The Godfather, or bits of it.
Yeah.
Interesting. I never.
And also the shots of the casket with the flowers and all that kind of stuff.
I didn't look at that. Yeah.
So.
Well, then of course I love Lord of the Rings, which is like my second big fantasy love. Like it's really like the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, where Star Wars I think is a little bit higher still, but Lord of the Rings is because with Lord of the Rings I really love the books more than the films, but the films are amazing too.
And it was just 10 years of filmmaking, that went into that. And look at that. That was a concerted effort. That really was, this great work of art done by one director with one vision.
Yeah.
And then it started going off the rails when they started trying different video formats with like The Hobbit and all this other stuff.
I know. Agreed.
And they're like, yeah, we need to stop.
Peter Jackson has his little isms that sometimes get a little strange. You saw it in King Kong too, which I thought was a great film when it started out, and then maybe the music was better than the film. But yeah, and so it goes. Well, you guys have been great. This has been way fun. I think we have enough material here for 3 shows.
Yeah, probably.
I love this. Matt and I, with our scene in the background, and Marian with Yoda. It was actually adorable. It was really adorable.
You know, it's funny in the shot that you have. Look right behind you. The black.
The black, yeah.
No. And Pamela's thing, the black spot. Remember the scene in Return of the Jedi where that lizard thing
the mouth comes out and
that's what that empty spot is for, because they did a matte painting on top of the film shot where the little thing eats the thing, you know, and that's what that little gap is right there.
Wow. All right.
So go back and watch the movie and you'll see it.
And we'll see it in that little spot.
Because that's how they did the special effects back in the early 80s, was they would make a matte painting, like Ralph McQuarrie would make a painting like this, and then they would leave a hole in the painting through the glass, and they would project the film, so you would see the little people, you know, in the big vista, you know, on that piece of film. So, and that's how they were able to put like people in the vista and all that kind of stuff.
See, Marian, this is what I love about talking to a filmmaker, when he shares these little bits of fabulous that we don't know. I love that.
So go back and watch the movie, and when you see the little frog dude eat the bug dude, you know, that's the little spot he's in. So
I feel a bit of Star Wars coming on tonight. In fact, I was thinking about renting Rise of Skywalker, because I've only seen it twice. And that is weird for me. So I need to up those figures, because once again, we will see all sorts of things in that film that we didn't see before. And there is a whole lot going on. It almost got a little crazy at the end. But, you know, for me...
You're watching that thing again?
Rise of Skywalker?
You're watching that thing more than one time? How? I can't watch it. It's so painful. I can't.
But with the last one? The very last one?
Yes.
I find it painful. I thought there were some really beautiful aspects about it, Marian, really. And I really love the end. I love it when we get a real, like almost like Tristan and Isolde moment between Kylo Ren and Rey. And there's a big sacrifice, you know.
The kiss?
And even before that, you know, first of all, you get Leia giving her life to really, you know, for her son, and then that resolution. And I think it was kind of interesting. What I didn't like about Rise of Skywalker, which I thought was overpowering for the film, was the fact that Palpatine was her father. I think that got me a little bit. You know, we were all trying to speculate. You know, it would have been stronger to me if no big deal had been her father. Like, you know, Kylo used to tell her, you know, your parents were nothing. That would have been wonderful to me. Kind of like the little kids at the end of Last Jedi, you know, are cleaning the stalls. I loved that when he looks up in the sky and he invokes the broom to come to him, you know, and there's the future. But and also maybe for me, Kylo Ren made sense in Rise of Skywalker finally, because I just kept thinking, where are they going to go with him? How are they going to make this right? You know.
Yeah. I mean, Last Jedi for me, it really took all the air out of the room.
I know.
Yeah, for me too.
I mean, it just in the sense of being embarrassed that you're there, being embarrassed for the filmmakers and the people involved, and being embarrassed that this is what they did with it.
Yeah.
You know, when you could do better on your worst day, and just like that, really, they let it get this far? Are you kidding me? You know, and you know.
Yeah. I think every one of us here could like sit down for 2 or 3 weeks and come up with a better story for a Star Wars trilogy than what they came up with, right?
Yeah.
No question about that.
And that is so sad, since they have so much money and so much time on their hands and so much resources and power, and they can't come up with something better than that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And that I think that's you know, deep down that's the embarrassing part. It's like, really, guys, that's it. You know? Yeah. I mean, that's what you came up with. That was the best great minds together. That was it.
In fact, Marian, you come up with something really good. Maybe we should all sit down, the three of us as artists, and develop a story and script for what we could pitch to be, hey, this is a moment. Maybe
story.
New Star Wars canon or what?
Yes, because I think if we start with a clean slate and with the kind of dynamic that we want out of the movies, I think we might be able to develop something really super cool.
Probably. We would certainly not have a planet shoot out like 5 big lasers and destroy 5 other planets at the same time. That wouldn't happen to us. There's so many bad things about these movies. It's insane. It's crazy.
But we could bring Baby Yoda into it, and or maybe we couldn't. Maybe we wouldn't be allowed. But maybe we could talk them into it because, hey, that could bring in the public and we could make it darn cute. You never know. Okay, you guys have been great. Thank you so much. This is going to be way fun. So this show, the audio for this is going to air on Tuesday morning, Marian. And hopefully Matt, myself, and I've recorded it with a couple external things. Matt's recorded it. We've got the recording here of the audio only. And so we'll take from this. If this is really super, super good, and it did, we always get better as we go along in interviews. We might be able to do 2 parts of this. So.
Oh, okay.
And why not? So Marian, be ready. I may call upon you again if we want to do another movie night, because Matt and I do these things and we talk about films. God, we've had, I don't know if you've seen them on my website, but we've done so many really, really great themes of, the movies that made us who we are, our favorite Christmas movies and music, that sort of thing. And then we talk about our Oscar choices, and it's really great fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
And you can bring Plush Yoda anytime.
For the next time, I will try to figure out how I can get this background going.
It's fine.
Maybe you guys should do a bit about, operettas that were made in the movies that worked and did not work.
Operettas? Oh, boy.
I guess, maybe.
Oh, boy.
I don't know any. Do I know any movies, operetta movies? I don't
there
know.
are
maybe plays also, like Les Miserables, where they sing the whole way through.
Yeah. Well, that's musical, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's a musical. There, believe it or not, Marian, there were a couple of attempts in Hollywood to recreate operettas starring Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy. And it's not really the complete story, and they take it different directions, but they take the music from it, right? So, but it would be interesting to talk about leitmotifs in movies.
Or what is it about, operettas or operas themselves, the spectacle of it, I guess, that works great on stage but may not translate to movies?
Very true.
And if it hasn't worked in movies, why not?
And why doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. That would be interesting, I think.
But
from a layman point of view, because I have no idea.
For instance, when they did Les Mis, and they made such a big deal in all the media, and I'm sure Marian will agree with me, about Anne Hathaway, and Hugh Jackman going, well, we had to sing live. I mean, there was no editing. And all we opera singers are going, yeah, we do that every night. Mistakes and all. I mean, big deal. Who are you? I mean, why are you talking like this?
But for a layman like me, I'm expecting to see something like Mary Poppins, where you have a scene, things happen, people talk, then you break into song, if you're having a moment. Yeah. And Les Miserables, no one stopped to talk at all. They just sang everything.
That's true. And it's a huge show. Huge.
I'm not sure I was able to handle it. But at least if you go to an opera, they're going to sing everything. It's kind of, it's in the title.
Believe it or not, there are a couple of operas where they do have dialogue.
Oh, really?
And
Magic Flute, for example.
Yeah, Magic Flute and Fidelio, and so it's kind of interesting, and I actually kind of like it. It does break up the music. I get what you're saying, Matt. You kind of can't handle all the music all the time. I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I think also it's always interesting to talk about, and with regard to film, an operatic pace, like things like Once Upon a Time in the West, and all the Sergio Leone films that had a real broad, slow pace, or like Lawrence of Arabia, same kind of thing where he spent, forever, on one shot. And when the music accompanies that, and it's the same kind of pace, it's always fascinating to me. And there's filmmakers that love that pace. And yeah, you don't get that. You don't get that all the time. And
or why does it work so well on Bugs Bunny?
Bugs Bunny?
Barbara of Seville?
Forgive me. My favorite is What's Opera Doc, where they take all the Wagner themes and it's Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny. Oh my God, that's the best.
Oh, I gotta get the rabbit. That one?
Yeah. Kill the rabbit, kill the rabbit. Yeah, that we love.
That's the only reason I have knowledge of plays and operas is Bugs Bunny, you know.
I love it. All right, Marian, are you ready to be released from this conversation? You're probably ready to go to bed.
I'm ready to like drink something. I need to drink a glass of water, just water, but my throat is very dry.
It's beer 30 too, so.
He was singing earlier. He was warming up for us by practicing. And
I actually gave a singing lesson this afternoon.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good for you. And have you explored the whole tenor thing anymore?
Just a little bit, but it's really, I've tried to go back a little bit into baritone because it just feels so weird to be singing tenor rap all the time. That's just exhausting. And so, yeah.
If it's too exhausting, then it's not right.
And I'm still like, I'm still a baritone for now, so I have to make sure I don't fall out too much of that.
Exactly.
You know?
And Matt, in the German, what they call the Fach system, so you're a cast in a house according to your voice type, and it means you sing specific repertoire, and you don't go out of that.
Really?
Yeah, the real voice classification thing is it has a lot of boundaries, and it keeps everybody really orderly. I mean, it makes it easy, you know, to go and audition for jobs because you know what you're auditioning for specifically. But and because Marian is going to a new opera house, which is very exciting in Bavaria, that'll be really nice. You know, that'll be great. So,
yeah,
I'm excited for you. Okay, guys. Well, this is it.
Thanks a lot. That was fun. Just send me the links where it's going to be released and stuff. I'm looking forward to see and hear it.
All right, Marian, I sent you the links to those trailers. And in my channel, you'll find the full movie, but the movie is getting a full CGI reboot